Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the southwest corner map, playing in blue, we have got, well, it's blue, but it's Beastyqt playing as the Ottomans, and his opponent in the northeast, playing in red. We've got lucifron 7, playing as the Chinese. Welcome everyone to Gorge. I hope you guys are having a great morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Beastyqt versus lucifron today. It's going to be a cracking game. I can say that with certainty, just because of the caliber of the players, the civilization matchup as well, and the map. Gorge, I gotta say, is one of my favourite maps. You've got this, obviously, central area access point to go to each other. Right direct access route, right down the middle. But if the game does go to a super late game, you can wall up and just make sure that you get the sides walled up, and then you start to head bang against each other right in the middle of the map. It can be a cracking game. Now, the Ottomans versus the Chinese. This is an interesting matchup, I've got to say. We don't see it all that often. The Chinese are a civilization that, well, obviously is very good at booming away, getting villager counts high, and then working from there. Late game, an incredibly strong civilization, especially with the astronomical clock tower for the siege, the castle age landmark that gives the increased health to siege units. It's incredibly powerful in the castle age, in fact. And the reason why I say that is because to counteract it, you're thinking, well, what do you go for? You go for your own siege. But yeah, but their siege is better. Having said that, the Ottomans, they have a nice friendly siege unit, the Great Bombard, we've come to know and love. So if it does go to the super late game, I'd love to see some of those. They can do some great work, some great damage. Splash damage, of course, can happen with that. So maybe we'll see some great bombards today. We have to watch and wait. Beastie on the Ottomans, opening up with a military school just to apply some early pressure potentially. Sometimes we do see actually something a bit cheeky. Sometimes spearmen actually pushing the deer towards the base. It's a little bit harder on Gorge because the resources are a little bit more spread out, like on the edges of the map. You can see on the west side, the deer camp and the boar. Not that the boar is particularly relevant for the Ottomans, something they can go for because, of course, they're adherent to the Islamic tradition. They can't take that meat. On the other hand, the Chinese, if they do go for a Song Dynasty, a second town centre, boy oh boy, would this be a good spot for it. Gold nearby, boar, deer, everything you could ask for. I gotta say though, the Chinese, they're an interesting civilization. It's been very common that they used to go for a second town centre Song Dynasty. Things have slightly changed though, because we are commonly seeing them a bit more reliant on the castle age tech timing, going for just one town centre Song Dynasty. And it's still effective because you still get a villager lead. Song Dynasty works for you pretty well. But it also gives you the tech advantage to the castle age, which is actually where there's a good power spike for the Chinese, giving access to the palace guards. And also, of course, as we spoke about earlier, the siege from the astronomical clock tower. Looks like Beastie moving out to stone now. With only 4 villagers on stone, it does suggest potentially it's just for military school production. We'll have to see actually, because 4 is a decent number. Now what I would say is, speaking of decent number, that's a decent number of sheep following that scout, spearman. Gonna try and poke and prod the villagers. This one should be able to get this up, but it's just going to delay it a little bit, and yeah, it should be okay. Now they're positioning just about okay with the town centre range. Speaking of numbers earlier, I'd like to say a very big thank you for everyone who's been supporting the channel, because we've been getting good numbers, great numbers in fact, on Twitch and YouTube. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate you guys so much. It's been a great few months, and what I would say, by the way, especially on YouTube, I want to try and keep growing that channel, keep growing the community. So say you've watched maybe 2 to 3 of my casted games, if you've been enjoying it on YouTube side of things, make sure you subscribe, because hey, I mean, if you enjoy it, you might as well, right? It's a great free way to support the channel, and hopefully at some point we'll get some sponsorships. That's what I'm hoping for, just to make this a bit more, I guess, sustainable. Now the Barbican dropped on the gold. We'll secure that on up, of course. It will certainly help if he's thinking about a fast castle. Although, yeah, should be fine, because the villagers are mining from this side. Like, there's an argument to be said, like, sometimes you need 2 outposts on a gold. The Barbican being on this side, it does mean it possibly could be ranged, the villagers, by archers in this position. But the villagers a little bit closer to the Barbican means that maybe not. Now one half of the Song Dynasty has already been made. It's going to go for the other half. The Imperial Academy, placed a little bit closer to home. It is going on stone, by the way, so it certainly looks like it's going to be a second town centre play. Doesn't feel like there's going to be any other reason to go to stone. So I guess it's going to be done. Yeah, because there's going to be a second town center to play here for Beastie as well, you can see. With that number of villages, no doubt about it. So 2 town centers for both players. I think in a way, it's a situation where Beastie kind of has to do this. And if he doesn't get a second town center himself, like, he's going to be way, way behind. He's still going to be outproduced in terms of villager counts because of the Song Dynasty from the Chinese. But at least it gives Beastie a little bit more resilience, a little bit more time to do some damage. If he stays 1 town center Beastie up against a 2 town center Song Dynasty, it's effectively an all-in play for Beastie. He has to kill his enemy within the next 20 minutes. If he doesn't, the economy for the Chinese just comes out crazy and he can mass-produce units, and then there's kind of no way back. So Beastie opted to go for the second town center to try and somewhat match, or at least keep up with the Chinese economy. The Imperial Academy has the presence to be able to build those Imperial officials. It'll be a really nice eco bonus for the Chinese. I've got to say in this matchup, now the Chinese, they don't necessarily seem as strong as they once used to, especially with the advent of the Jushi legacy. But actually, all things considered, I think their economy is incredibly strong. Like, think about it. You've got Song Dynasty. You really build up the village count heavily, very quickly. And then you got the Imperial official getting you more resources. Those 2 bonuses together, it's actually kind of insane. They've got some really strong units as well in the form of the Palaskars, the Chukunu. The Ottomans, on the other hand, when you think about their bonuses, what do they get? Well, they don't get any eco bonuses. Okay, they get a couple of vizier points, maybe they get a couple of sheep, maybe a couple of imams, but that's about it. I mean, they get the military scores, which is pretty decent. Free units, I mean, to be fair, you can never say no to free, but they're not the most fastest producing units, right? It takes time. And so, I don't know, I mean, for me, if you're going to be comparing Song Dynasty 2 town centers with the Imperial official, put that on one side and put, what, on the other side? What, military scores? I think I'll take the Chinese every day of the week. It does have the Mehmed Imperial, it does have the Twin Minaret Madrasa, to be fair, for the free food. Which certainly helps a little bit, but as time goes on, you've got to favour the Chinese in this matchup. So it's kind of interesting to think about, really, because we talked about how Beastie's trying to keep up on the villager count. He's never really going to be able to, right? He's just going to try and soften the blow a little bit in terms of the rate at which kind of he's outproduced. But then it kind of makes you think, well, is it the case that the Ottomans are always going to go for an all-in play in some sense? Because, you know, you've got the Chinese, you're never going to match up their economy. So you're going to have to kill them military-wise. You just have to, right? That's the only kind of way you can win that fight. But going for a second town centre limits your capability to do that in a quick time. And I wonder whether a second town centre for the Ottomans, therefore, allows the Chinese economy to escalate to a position, buys them enough time. It delays the Ottomans' push to a significant effect that it means that the Chinese can have that time to breathe, to build up the economy and mount a defense. It's kind of interesting to think about, right? Because it makes you think, well, maybe if the Ottomans are always having to go for an all-in play, is it better to do an all-in play with 1 town centre or 2 town centres? Obviously, with 1 town centre, the power of the push is very limited. You've got like the capability of 1 push, maybe 1.5 pushes. Because once you lose your army, or if you lose your army, that's it. Like, you can't really make them again. You don't have an economy. So it's an interesting thing to think about for sure. How's it going, Electropulsed in Twitch? Hope you're doing well, buddy. Welcome on in. So if you guys are watching YouTube and thinking, what am I talking about? Well, I am streaming on Twitch these days, so you're welcome to come and say hi as well. My concern for this is the Chinese build power, build speed, so much more as well. Managed to get the outpost quicker, and now the Ottomans. He's possibly just about going to get the outpost. Yeah, he gets it out in the end, so it does deny the gold somewhat. But, you know, suffered some casualties, and I think, yeah, looks like Village is going to just come down to torch this down before Aristides comes in, and he should be able to take it out. Still got 3 villagers here, and Candace's coming in as well. This could be dangerous, actually, because I think Aristides is going to come in before it gets torched down fully. Especially with the repairs. Yeah, this is a tricky, like, he's got a couple of villagers. He doesn't want to sacrifice all of them. Good thing he's got the outpost, though, because Aristides, and, well, his village garrison side will help take away the villages that are repairing. Aristides in place now is a bit of an issue. It is on fire, but it's coming out to repair once again. Aristides need to, well, the arrows from the tower from the Chinese need to focus on the villagers if they can. The villagers are fighting away, so he will clear this up in the end, but he's killed a couple of villagers here, Beastie. Good bit of damage. Alright, Beastie, go to the castle age now, and the concern is that is a 5 villager lead, which is going to keep on climbing, and Lucifron is not too far away from the castle age. Does need a bit more gold. Obviously, gold has been hampered a little bit by the aggression coming out for Beastie. So that's why that push was good for Beastie. Does delay the castle age, as I say that though. Lucifron setting a couple more villagers to get that gold in quick time. It's going to be the Mehmed Imperial Armory. And so the reason why I don't necessarily like this matchup is because one of the big power spikes for the Ottomans is the Castle Age siege from the Mehmed Imperial Armory. The big problem is that, well, the Chinese are really well set up to deny that. They got the astronomical clock tower. A couple of springles from that will do great work against any siege from the Ottomans. If there's any other civilization that the Ottomans are going up against, it's a lot harder, right? Because, put it this way, imagine the Ottomans are facing up against, say, the French, right? The French have to commit to a siege workshop. They're going to have to commit to springboards, whereas the Chinese don't have to commit to even a siege workshop. They've got one. It's the astronomical clock tower. The springboards that they build, they're better. That's why the Chinese are so strong against the Ottomans. Now, of course, with that example, the French will have other cavalry units that they can try and snipe siege with, but the siege are well protected. It'll be fine for them. Two imams coming out for the vizier point, looking to snag up some of those relics, and the Chinese, well aware of that threat, setting a couple of spearmen just to protect them, to guard them, to keep them safe. Can I just say one thing? The Ottomans' music is incredible. It's so good. It sounds so good. I have had a bit of a game sound rebalance on my channel recently. Goes for the Walolo, trying to keep... I might actually get this. Wait, does it get... I think gets it. He gets it. He gets 2 spearmen at least. Can't convert the monk, of course. He's going to get another one. No, I think this time... Yeah, the Chinese get it in the end. But it does snag away 1 relic potentially here. Villagers. Poking and prodding. Let's take a look at this. 1.29. Oh, Lance is coming on as he does. Drop the relic. But he brings it significantly closer. But yeah, the sound design in Age of Empires 4 is so good. I have had a bit of a recalibration of the audio. So hopefully it's at a good level. I do love the music though. Bit of a smash and grab in the north. Lucifron looking to snag those relics. It's got one in his clutches so far. That is the one. Good number of spearmen. This is the concern, right? And this is where Lucifron becomes crazy with the unit numbers. The Chinese, they're going to be spamming out for a long time. They've got good villager lead. They've got a great economy with the Imperial Official buffering up everything. He's got the second town centre up and running as well. It's just, yeah, this is where it becomes very scary for Beastie, right? We're at the 12, 13, 14 minute of the game. Both players in the Castle Age. One big difference though, the Chinese just villager lead, economic lead, military lead. Now, as I do talk about sound design, it's a bit unfortunate. Sometimes I've noticed this with the Ottomans. The audio just cuts off. Did you guys hear that? The music just cut off for some reason. Not too sure why. Lancers get absolutely sniped. Oh, Beastie. I was going to lose a Sipahi. Oh no, he managed to get out of there just in time. It was close though. Does lose a couple of Lancers going underneath the Barbican. The sun, not ideal. Sniping some villagers. On the north, Sipahi. I think Sipahi gets converted here. There he goes. The Chinese Sipahi. So had some good Wallalos here for Lucifron already. And so this is the concern, right? So now is a case where Beastie has to do eco damage. And the trouble is, yeah, like you kill villagers, but Song Dynasty 2TC, you kill 1, 2 more pop out for the Chinese. And I wonder if that second town center just delays things a little bit too much. It's a really hard one, I think, as a matchup in and of itself. I feel like China's a really good spot for this one. But of course, there's one thing about having a civilization, there's another thing about actually executing it, and this one looks to be executing it pretty well. It's got 2 relics already, 2 more on the way. So if he gets the rubber, the green, and the relics as well, that's massive. Now, one thing that's actually really good for the Ottomans is that they can start to build up a good army numbers, and if they can build them up, they could come in with a strong push. We'll see. Yo, Eisman, thank you for the raid. Appreciate it, dude. Hope you had a good stream. I was in there earlier, taking a gander at your team games. Hope you had fun. Welcome on in, guys. Welcome on in. We're catching a great game today. Beastie versus Lucifron on Gorge. With 8 villager lead. It's definitely looking decent, but factor in as well the Imperial Official, factor in the relics. Lucifron's in a good spot, and like one thing to consider is maybe the Ottomans, if they can get to the super late game with bombards, it could be an option. The trouble is the key bit of detail is the astronomical clock tower, right? Clock tower has to be clock tower, springles, you name it. They are incredibly strong. I appreciate you guys all hopping in. Thank you so much, Eisman, for the raid. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alright, spying around the back line. Just trying to cause a bit of damage, but ultimately at this stage of the game, the way it's going to be panning out, or should possibly panning out, is lucifron doesn't need to make any sudden movements, you know? He doesn't need to run in front of any oncoming traffic, just needs to play this slowly, methodically, securely. He's got 4 relics, he's got the villager leader of the Song Dynasty. It really is up to Ottomans, it really is up to Beasty to put on some pressure. And the longer the game goes, feels like lucifron should be feeling confident about things. Gotta have to make sure that he keeps them safe from raids though, so great work with the palisade walls. Keep Spearman in the choke point. Lancer's going to dive on in. Now the Lancers might just about win this fight. I don't think it's going to be optimal though, so maybe he doesn't want to take this fight. He's going to take it anyway. Not ideal. Yeah, he backs away for now after losing a Lancer. So good engagement there for lucifron for sure. Now there is one potential way out for Beastie here, and it's Sacred Sites, right? So he could potentially get some map control with military units, but it's a hard ask. 10 minutes is a long time. When you factor in the Chinese, if you give Chinese another 10 minutes, their economy will be fully boomed and they will pump out units. That could be the way that this game ends up being played. Like, you could just see the Ottomans go for the Sacred Site victory. He's got 10 minutes on the timer now. And this is where things are going to become really interesting. It's going to be about Beastie's ability to defend those key locations on the map. It's going to be about the Chinese timing it to perfection, making sure that he has units on the field pumped out by the superior economy, then challenge those Sacred Sites. The hard bit for the Ottomans is keeping all 3 Sacred Sites safe simultaneously. There are 3 angles of approach here for lucifron. Just needs to focus on one of them. If he decaps one of the Sacred Sites, he'll be fine. Speaking of which though, here comes the push for BC. He's going for that timing push we expected to see as the Ottomans. This is the time where lucifron needs to shine in terms of defense. He's had 17 minutes with a good economy, and this is where the economy needs to be pumped out into military and make sure he survives. If Beastie can't kill his enemy in the next 10 minutes, it's going to become a big problem. He snipes out and a mangonel for free almost. The other mangonel very low in health, and this is not a good sight if you're the Ottomans backing away. It shouldn't be the way that happened. I mean, if he doesn't push now, it feels almost impossible to be able to push later. Here comes a farming transition for lucifron, and that will kind of buy a bit of time for Beastie maybe, but Beastie equally will need a farming transition himself. This is where things become really tricky. Like, Beastie needs to be on the front foot. In reality, he's having to back away. So the Sacred Sites, they're going to be contested. So 10 minutes was going to be a long time to hold. He could only hold on for a minute and a quarter. And he might even lose all 3 Sacred Sites. And now, this is where the pushback is coming from the Chinese, which is exactly what you don't want to see as the Ottomans. At this stage, maybe the Ottomans, their early approach is to take this game to the super late game. We know that something that Beastie does incredibly well. It looks like he's actually heading towards that area. Like, he's looking at Castle Age. He's in Castle Age. He's thinking about Imperial. Look at the food and gold. It certainly looks that way. Now, I've got to say, the game's not over. You might be he might be inclined to think that way, but bear in mind one thing that the Ottomans do really well: they fight really well in close quarters. With mangonels, with great bombards, the trouble is if he can get there. I don't think lucifron's going to let him get there. Speaking of which, speaking of getting there, didn't manage to get that Sacred Site in the north. And he's just going to torch everything down. Like, these veteran spearmen, they are so good with their torch damage. It's a really good effective unit. In many ways, actually, we see spearmen being used a lot in terms of siege. Ooh, Springhalds. I mean, Springhalds are supposed to counter Nesta Bees, right? No, not astronomical clock tower ones. 2 Springhalds, I'm afraid, will not be enough to take a clock tower Nesta Bees. lucifron, he's putting on a bit of a show with fireworks and the good number of archers there for the Ottomans. You should be able to fight away against the spearmen. The trouble is when the Nesta Bees get involved. There it is. Oh god, that's a disaster for Beastie. Loses so many of those archers on the hill, but this is the tricky situation, right? We talked about the importance of siege, and the astronomical clock tower means that the Chinese just have a far superior siege network that you can just produce so many great siege units with great amount of HP on them. They may have their drumming on their drums, but it doesn't feel like they've got enough there to move the Ottoman army into victory. Oh god, he's losing so many of these archers. It's not looking good. He does have a mangonel, but that goes down before it even gets the second shot. Nesta B stealing the show. lucifron is pushing on heavy. BC trying to survive, but he's down to 15 military. He's still got good, healthy economy population, but without many units to defend them, it's going to be possibly only a matter of time. lucifron He's pushing on in with his siege. Doesn't have much siege to take out the structures, to be fair. He did lose a decent amount of his spearmen, but he's still focusing on. He's going to go to the wood line. Beastie needs to find a way to defend this. This is looking tricky. Now, especially the fact that if you're relying on free units, they do not come out quick enough. I don't think Beastie can rely on free units. He needs to make them. He needs to spend. But the thing is, without Imperial Age, he had to... I think he had to rebalance his economy in a big way. He was saving up for the Imperial Age, but the timing there for lucifron was impeccable. He's trying to go for the keep on the right side gold. He needs gold big time. Now he's going to relocate the keep a little bit. Go for the ball. The Chinese. He needs a bit more food. But he does have a great farming transition already. That's the big problem, actually. Beastie, if he's not running out of gold, he's going to be running out of food before too long. Does have a bit of economy on the west side. Now, if the Chinese do move into that area, it's going to become a problem. He's kept it safe with stone walls, to be fair. So Beastie's not down and out just yet, but it's definitely looking tricky. Building a bit of a mountain of response with his archers, but we saw what happened to archers earlier. He's only down to one nest of bees, to be fair, the Chinese, so he's done great work, Beastie, to try and push those away, take as many of them away as possible. The big concern is, though, lucifron's economy is solid enough that he can keep producing. Beastie going to try and deny the deer camp a little bit with the outpost. He's going to secure up a bit of gold down the east side, which is actually quite significant, actually. This is why I love Beastie playing. This is so important. So you have you have two tiles of 8,000 gold veins. One being here, one being on the west side. Beastie has control over both of them. And so gold could become an issue for the Chinese. Sure, they get tax collection from the Imperial Official. It's solid, but it's not enough to sustain a late game Chinese. So if Beastie can survive the next 10 minutes, maybe, just maybe there's a way. But, oh god, the spawning of that mangonel came at the worst possible time. Sabahe going around the back, trying to cut off reinforcements. You can see Beastie bringing out all the tricks in the Age of Empires 4, trying to make it work. He's got Janissaries summoned on in. A lot of Springles still alive. Beastie's held on though. You can see this is why Beastie is such a great player. He's managed to hold on, even with seemingly incredible odds. Nesta B's numbers starting to dwindle, and yeah, that push has not sustained itself for lucifron. But what it does allow him to do maybe is potentially think about Imperial Age at some point. The problem for him is securing gold, and you can see it. He's desperate. He needs the 8,000 gold vein, and he can't get it. Not yet, anyway. But as he wants to try and get it, he says, well, look, if I can't have it, neither can you. I'm going to get an outpost, and those villagers need to stop mining. Potentially. Springle's being pushed back. Palace Guards. I love the switch to Palace Guards, by the way, because the ranged units for Ottomans now, mostly archers, makes it difficult against Palace Guards, but he could have it an easy transition to crossbows. And now Beastie needs to try and take care of that outpost if he can. Going to find it difficult, lack of units, but all of a sudden, lucifron, Chinese, being pushed back. Nesta B is right on top of the archers. He takes hits, but I mean, it's a trade that Beastie's willing to take. He needs to take out that Springwood if he can. He's taking the Nesta B's if he can. Nesta B's being forced back. Sabahi taken apart, but the pushback is kind of grinding to a halt here for Beastie. And Nesta B is getting way too much value. Two Springwolves should take it out in the end, which is great work. The Palace Guards, we talked about this. They're going to start to overrun those archers. He needs crossbows. He needs them, and he needs them with a front line. Otherwise, those Palace Guards will hack and slash him. On the right side, gold is not being mined by either player, to be fair, so that hurts lucifron more than it does Beastie, because Beastie does have the gold vein on the west side and needs to take. Having said that, it's kind of vastly running out. Does have another to take here on the 4,000 gold vein, so we'll be able to sustain this a little bit longer. Springwood on the Nesta Bees. Looks like the Nesta Bees will win that fight though. Springwood only got one shot off there, unfortunately, and then gets torched down. And this is what we talked about. The Ottomans, they do love fighting in close quarters, and you can see how well it's working out for him. Another batch of spearmen heading on in for Beastie. Slowly but surely, it feels like the second push might be the downfall for Beastie. It's a big one, especially now with Palace Guards. It's a lot different. It's a game changer, the Palace Guards. Possibly going to lose a mangonel. No villagers to repair. Springwolves are out. But look at this, another wave. And behind this, it's going to be the Imperial Palace. It's going to get the extra vision. It's going to know exactly what's happening on. Guess what? He gets the Yuan Dynasty. These units, they're going to be supercharged. 15% movement speed. They're going to gap close. It's one thing having ranged units and a front line. With no front line, these units, the Palace Guards, will gap close like anything, and they're doing just that. I love the switch. There's always a temptation to go to the Imperial Age, but that Yuan Dynasty for the Chinese is a great power spike, especially considering the army composition here for lucifron. And he's getting control again on the base, and this time it feels like the base is being overrun. It's a bit of a swarm of Palace Guards. lucifron, whilst he doesn't have huge amounts of access to gold, he's got a big bank of gold. Got 3,000 gold in the bank, and if he keeps spamming, you can see the trickling in of units. Nesta B's coming in as well, and I think at this point it's going to be really difficult for Beastyqt to stem the bleeding. He's got a good economy on the west side, but that is slowly about to be raided. Palace Guards are everywhere. They're in the south. They're in the heart of the base. Beastyqt going to try and get a keep up, but there's Nesta B's. Those villagers, they're going to be in danger. This is danger. Nesta B's fire off, and oh god, those villagers have to back away. I don't think this keep ever goes up. Not with the Palace Guards reinforcing. There's no way the villagers come out, although he might lose the Nesta B's. The two Sabai for Beastyqt trying to get involved, but look at the front line. Protect the Nesta B's. Sabai, they don't manage it. The keep is not up, and this is going to looking a little bit dicey for Beastyqt. That was maybe his way back into the game, securing that location. But the Nesta B's is stealing the show here for lucifron. Down in the south, Palace Guards are raiding slowly but surely. Beastyqt, he's bleeding villagers, and it's hard for him to reproduce and rebuild them. He's only got one town centre. Don't forget, the second town centre was burnt down to the ground in ashes. Two mangonels, they're not getting involved. He needs them deployed. He needs to take care of the Palace Guards. Villagers trying to build up. I mean, he's just not going to get it. 3,000 HP on that, and it's just, it's going to be tough to get that built, especially with the constant trickling of Palace Guards. Mangonels, two of them do deploy. That'll possibly buy him a bit of a window. But he's going to need more of that. Farms, they've been vacated. Food economy not looking good. He's got 0 villagers on gold, on food rather, Beastyqt. Got absolutely 0 food income. He's going to rely on siege only. He has got a siege engine, siege workshop, 2 siege workshops to be fair. And looks like the keep will go up in the end. That's incredible he's managed to do that, and this one not being able to deny that with siege now a thing. Beast's got to keep hold of wood. He's got plenty of gold banked up. He needs wood though for keeping. Oh god, speaking of wood, well, that's a bit of a problem because those Palace Guards, they reckon those villagers. Beastyqt down to 64 villagers, and lucifron is that population gap. Beastyqt, he needs to find a way to solidify this position somehow and push on out, because the sacred site timer has been activated. But the Chinese, 9 minutes on the clock, and Beastyqt's got 9 minutes to secure his defenses and then push on out somehow. 2 Nesta B's heading a bit further forward. Farming transition around the keep. That extra protection. It's looking a bit dicey. Being pulled left, right, and centre. Villagers. Oh, this is the thing as well. Like, with the keep, if that goes down, it's going to become a big problem. Villagers are going to be sacrificed to try and take down the trebuchet. And whilst the trebuchet does go down, these villagers are exposed, right? They're not really where they want to be. They're not in the safety of their home environment. That's for sure. Out in the wilderness, they're going to be hacked and slashed by Palace Guards. He might lose the trebuchet lucifron, but you know, Beastyqt's going to lose a lot of villagers. So I don't think lucifron minds this too much, because Beastyqt's going to bleed even more villagers at this point. With only one town set up, it'd be hard to reboom. But the good siege push here from Beastyqt. Look at the number of mangonels. Could he find a way to survive? Can CGQT really do it? Seven and a half minutes on the clock. lucifron gets to the Imperial Age. And I don't think Beastyqt has any scope of getting his Imperial Age in this game. There's no way. Not with the food income. Not if he wants to keep producing units. I think really at this point, it really is all about Beastyqt trying to get a big push going, a big massive army, and then riding on out. Palace Guards about to go in. Doesn't really have much of a front line. That's the big problem. The siege is unguarded, but I mean, he's going to get a good few volleys off the mangonels. Mangonels, where are they going? That's not the direction they needed to head over. Janissaries working their best to try and take out Palace Guards. We'll clear this up in the end. But he loses a mangonel. He doesn't have many of those. Look at the farming transition for... Holy moly, look at the food income for lucifron. Jeez, that's a lot of farms. Hey, I'm impressed. I'm enjoying it. I do enjoy a bit of a farming. On the right side, lucifron got access to gold once again. And that was possibly the way that Beastie was in the game, right? It was denying gold income from lucifron, but that's no longer the case. So lucifron and the Chinese, they're going to come in full scale, fully resourced, fully kitted out. Wait a minute. I talked about Beast not getting the Imperial Age. How the hell has he afforded this? I think he must have bought food. He must have, right? But he's going to get the Imperial Age. And he's going to make a fight of this. The resilience of Beastie is incredible. There's that Imperial Age. But this is probably go time now. I think if you're the Chinese and lucifron, this is the time to mount a response and go. Like, Beastie's just invested a lot of resources into the Imperial Age. How the heck is he getting this economy? He's got 58 villagers, but still a decent bank of resources. I mean, ultimately, it does come down to the fact it's getting free units as well. That certainly helps things, like especially with the influence of the blacksmith. It's going to be getting them a good 40% faster now, increased rate from the standard. Palace guards, they don't care. They're running one in. Mangonels in that choke point. Could be some devastating volleys here, which we'll see. Palace guards, though, if they get on top of the siege, it could be problematic, and I think they might just be getting on top of the siege. He's got to lose one Mangonel here, surely, right? Nope, he doesn't. But either way, it doesn't matter. Beastie taps out. The onslaught just kept on coming, and it was a bit of a light work, bit of a fireworks show there for lucifron. He takes the game on Gorge. It was a great game of Age of Empires. The resilience from Beastie was incredible. Hope you guys enjoyed this casted game on YouTube. If you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.